We are live. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are live. And this morning here on Man Talk Live, I have a question for you. Are you a man who's been struggling with a lot of health issues and concerns about your health, but yet you have not seen the doctor in a very long time? You're feeling pressure from people that care about you, from your loved ones to your spouse and others, that's encouraging you to get yourself checked out and addressing the health issues and concerns, but yet you haven't made the move to get yourself checked out. With this morning here on Man Talk Live, I want to talk about 7 important tips, reasons why you need to take your health more seriously as a man. And we're starting right now. Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to Man Talk Live. I'm your host, Walter Strong, where we share helpful tips to inspire men like yourself to raise the standard of manhood in your life so that you can be a great husband, a devoted father, and a man of integrity, a man who serves God and his community. And so if you're new here this morning, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat. And if you're watching the replay of this episode, do me a favor, give me a hashtag Team Replay in the comment section. And so, as we said this morning, we're going to get into 7 tips, 7 reasons why you as a man need to take your physical health more seriously. Getting yourself checked out, addressing health concerns and issues that are plaguing you, but you are not addressing it. And so, we're going to get into this discussion. You know what to do if you are an existing person who's been here at Man Talk Live. Grab a pen, grab a pad, and let's get into this content. Let's go to work. Let's have this discussion on our health and why we need to take it more seriously. Now, traditionally on this channel, we talk about manhood topics, manhood issues, such as what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a man? And that question can be answered in a variety of different ways. For some individuals will say, to me, being a man simply means reaching a certain age in life that now says that I am fully a man. I have reached the age of 18. I have reached the age of 21. I have reached the age of 25. I am a man. For some, it's an age thing. For someone else, someone would say it's based upon the status that the world says that I need to have now experienced in my life by having my first beer, by going hunting for the first time, or kissing a woman and being in a relationship and having sex for the first time, is how our society sometimes will define the definition of what it means to be a man. But we know here on this channel, being a man is not just a matter of birth. But for you see, being a male is a matter of birth. But being a man is a matter of choice. The choice, the decision to say, I want to be responsible. I want to walk in more maturity. I'm willing to accept accountability. That's what being a man is. Now, if you ask the question, what does men's health mean to a man? The same way you got a variety of different responses to that question, you're going to get a variety of different responses to what men's health is. I remember one time searching online, asking the question, what does it mean? What does men's health mean to a man? And what's interesting, what came up was a lot of articles on the magazine Men's Health. And what I saw in those articles, particularly on the covers, were entertainers, actors, athletes, individuals like if they were an entertainer like Chris Hemsworth, Jason Straitman. If they were an athlete, it was someone maybe like an Alex Rodriguez, a Tom Brady. If they were, if they were a singer, they were a particular singer. But it was interesting in each of the covers on this Men's Health magazine. Men's health was being defined based on the physical physique and look of a man, in terms of how he looked, in terms of how, not just about how he felt, but how his physical presentation and his package was presented. So, for someone like Jason Straitman, he was a person who was very physically fit, who had muscles, and who could handle himself very well from a fighting standpoint. For Chris Hemsworth, who's an actor as well, he was physically put together and presented in such a way where he had that sexy look appeal. And so the image that the magazine was trying to present, that Men's Health was based on the physical look and presentation of how a man was presented. That's what his health was taught. It also talked about his diet. It also talked about how often did he worked out. But it was further from the truth of what real men's health is about. And in my humble opinion, men's health for men, particularly black men, is about our physical health and going to the doctor, going and getting ourselves checked out, where we have a regular primary physician, where we go and get regular checkups. And because the world has communicated this other perception of what men's health, as a result, a lot of men don't go and get themselves checked out. And as a result, we are dealing with a lot of health concerns in our lives. We get up, we go to work, we perform. We Some of us eat right and some of us don't eat right, but we're dealing with health concerns that we may know and health concerns that we don't know. And though we are dealing with these health concerns, we still press on and we don't go and get ourselves checked out. Health concerns such as being pre-diabetic, health concerns in terms of high blood pressure, health concerns of uh, you know, constantly dealing with headaches. And so we just get some over the counter medicine, we take it, but we keep it moving. We keep it moving. And as a result of these health concerns, they're not being addressed. And we keep taking over the counter medicine and never deal with the health concerns that we have. A lot of these health concerns, for most of us as men that are dealing with, are pre-existing pre-existing health concerns from family members who've dealt with them in the past, and now they've kind of passed on to us. You know, when I look back and I think about growing up and spending time with my grandmother was a diabetic who took insulin, and who constantly had to, stick her finger and to check her sugar levels and her blood levels. So I remember seeing insulin bottles being in the refrigerator, but at no time as a young man did I ever think or have thought that I would now be taking medicine for being a pre-diabetic, because of my diet, in terms of how I eat and how I take care of my health. So a lot of it is family history, pre-existing conditions that's been passed from generations. My mother dealt with it. Um, Not only being pre-diabetic or taking being diabetic, there was health risk concerns about heart issues. My grandmother, I remember on many of occasions, unfortunately, where she would end up having many heart attacks and would have to be hospitalized. My grandmother, I think, lived up to about maybe 83, but there were on more than one occasions where I would find out through my mother or find out through family members that grandma is in the hospital. She just had a heart attack and she would be in the hospital for a couple of days and we would have to go visit her. But ultimately she would come home. And then my mom's dealing with some of those same pre-existing conditions and family history concerns. And unfortunately, my mom, she passed away at 42 from heart condition issues. I end up later learning on in life that my grandfather, which was my mother's father, passed away at 42. So to have him pass away from at 42 because of heart condition concerns, my mother passing away at 42, having heart concerns, blood pressure, and diabetic. You see all these family histories, and then to have my sister to pass away at age 42 from heart condition concerns. You see the pattern. Now, where being that these were women, primarily my grandmother, my mother, and my sister, were they going to the doctor? They were pretty much regularly going to the doctor, getting themselves checked out, being aware of these health concerns. However, when it came to my grandfather, he wasn't going to the doctor as often as he should have. He wasn't getting himself checked out. And so what it teaches us as men and women, but primarily men, we have to go and get ourselves checked out on a regular basis. So these pre-existing conditions that are from our family's history can be tracked and monitored. It reminds me of a commercial that I once saw one time where there was a gentleman who was going about his daily activities in life, but as he was going about doing things out, maybe shopping or stopping at the grocery store, stopping at a local store, you would see this gurney, this hospital gurney, following him, and he knew something was following him in the shadows. He would look back, and the hospital gurney would kind of pull away, so it wouldn't be easily detected. But the point of the commercial, what it was saying is, especially us as men, we have these pre-existing health concerns and we're not addressing them. And it is secretly following us. And it's going to come upon us at a moment in time when we least expect it. And so as a result of these health concerns, these family histories, okay, we are not going to the doctor and getting ourselves checked out. We're not getting ourselves checked out. And so if we are not taking care of our health, then how can we as men be around for our spouses and being a great husband? If we're not getting ourselves checked out, how can we be there for our children as fathers and being devoted fathers if we're not getting ourselves checked out? If if you are a man who is a man of influence that's impacting and touching people's lives through service, through your community or your church, how can you be there for people if you are not getting yourself checked out? Well, you see, it's like the instructions that's given on the airlines, that when the plane is experiencing severe turbulence or if they're in case of an emergency, the stewardess instructs the passengers that in case of emergency, please make sure that you're seated, make sure you're in your seatbelt. But in the case of the airplane loses cabin pressure, the oxygen mask comes down, And then they instruct you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So that way you can have the proper oxygen so that you can stay alert and aware of what's going on in the midst of the emergency. But to turn around in the case of an emergency on an airline and not put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then try to help someone else, you ultimately can not only put yourself at risk, but put them at risk because you're not looking after taking care of yourself first. And so on this episode this morning here on Man Talk Live, I wanted to share the importance of why you, as a man, need to take your health more serious. You need to take your health concerns more serious. You know, we recently heard the passing of Chadwick Boseman a couple of years ago, who passed away because of cancer. I forget specifically what type of cancer it was, but he passed away because of cancer. Now, he had been, from what I remember and recollect, he had been dealing with this health issue and this concern of cancer, I think, since when they started shooting the movie Marvel's Captain America Civil War. So at a point of his career should have been the highlight and the peak of his career, he's now being shared this devastating news that he has cancer. But because of his commitment to want to be able to honor his contract with Disney and Marvel, he went on and still did the movie. Did he get treatment? Was he going and getting his regular cancer treatment and things that he needed to fight the cancer? Yeah, he was. While he was still shooting the movie, and he still kept it secret so that others would not know what he was dealing with, because of, as men, we want to protect our health privacy, and we are entitled to that, but he was still getting himself the treatment that he needed. And so as a result, he was able to complete and do Captain America Civil War. And you would have, when you saw the movie, you would have never thought or even assumed that there was a health risk concern in his life. He ends up doing Black Panther, the first movie, and it ends up breaking all types of records because of the masterful performance and how he was able to not only bring his best level of acting performance, but he elevated other actors around him, like Angela Bassett and who else am I thinking about? Forrest Whitaker and others. And then he goes on and is a part of Marvel's The Avengers, The Infinity War, and then Endgame. And then shortly after that, we end up hearing of his passing. But all the while he was dealing with it. And how was he dealing? He found out by going to the doctor. And his time on the earth, for some of us, would say it was short. But I do believe the word of God is clear that it does say that, each and every one of us will experience death at an appointed time in life. And then we'll face the judgment. I believe that's Hebrews chapter 9. I forget what verse it is, but it's in Hebrews chapter 9, where death is appointed to, to all of us at some point, and then the judgment. So where some individuals may live up to almost into their 80s to their 90s, others may live into their 40s and their 50s. But let's think about it from the perspective, him being given this devastating news about cancer, but never going to the doctor. Too many of us men are now dealing with prostate cancer, and it's now in the stage where it's difficult to treat because we wouldn't go and get our prostate levels checked. Too many of us as men are dealing with colon cancer, and it's now being difficult to treat because we wouldn't go and get a colonoscopy. Too many of us are dealing with men, too many of us as men are dealing with issues with our kidney and dialysis, having to being faced with the reality of being on dialysis for the rest of our life because we were not dealing with these health concerns in their early stages. We saw the family history, we saw the pre-existing conditions that were happening in past family members, but we were not taking it serious. And so, as a man, I want to encourage you to take your health serious. When it comes to your car, if you have a favorite car, Chrysler, Ford, Mustang, GT, Shelby, you take it serious to take care of that car. And there's a movie that Nicolas Cage and Angela Jolie, I think it is, and Will Payton did called Gone in 60 Seconds. And in the movie, one of his favorite cars that he loves driving, but is probably the most challenging for him to steal and to get away successfully with, is a car named Eleanor, the GT Shelby. But when he gets in that car, he puts everything into making sure she performs at the level that she needs to perform. As men, we do it with cars. We do it with our latest clothes. We do it with, working out in the gym. In today's times, a lot of us as men, we do it now with content creation, with live streaming, with the top of the line video production. And some of us as men are fortunate with the latest tech and tools that we have. We can put video production shows, pre-recorded shows, or just live stream shows better than some of today's top movie studios like Universal, Paramount, or Disney, because we're that invested. But we're not invested when it comes to our health. We're invested in getting more likes. We're invested in getting more views. We're invested in growing our YouTube channels. But when it comes to our health, we're not invested. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this episode of Man Talk Live this morning, as we talk about 7 important reasons why you need to take your health serious, do me a favor, click that like button for me, click that thumbs up, share this on your favorite social media platform, which brings me to my next 2 tips. So as a result of us not taking our health concerns serious and not addressing the family history and pre-existing conditions, we talked about declining health. As a result, we start to see our health declining. And along with that declining health, instead of us not going and getting ourselves checked out to find out what's going on, we allow this lack of trust in doctors to be a barrier in us not going. And when you look at some of the reasons why there is a lack of trust, some of them are legitimate. Especially if you've had a negative experience with a doctor before and you were misdiagnosed and you were asked to take all these different tests and take all this type of medicine, but yet you were not getting better because the doctor was clearly misdiagnosing you. And through the recommendation of another loved one or a family member, they encourage you to go to another doctor, and then to find out what the true issue is, you act upon it, then you can get addressed. But what happens when you are being misdiagnosed and you don't follow up on that advice to go see a second doctor? Um, it causes you to have a lack of trust in doctors, especially if you've seen your mother and your father go through it, and then they ultimately pass away. You know, I think about the Tuskegee Airmen and the Tuskegee experiment, and how men were being experimented on, their bloods being, uh, experimented on by doctors. And as a result, it caused a lot of us as black men to have a lot of lack of trust in doctors, especially when the doctors don't look like us. They don't look like us. They may be qualified from a medical profession. They may have all the degrees, but because they don't look like us, they don't sound like us, that our skin color is not the same, there's a lack of trust. And so as a result, we don't go and our health is declining. But what I've come to understand, that you really have to do your research on finding a good primary physician that you can go to, who takes people's health as a priority to them, and not just having a ton of patients and just getting, co-payments and charging health insurance carriers money, and having the place just overly packed, where your appointment is at 9:30, but he has 10 other people in the room whose appointment's at 9:30. So by the time you get to see the doctor, here and now, it's now 11 o'clock, and you don't leave out of there until 12 p.m. And so I can understand the lack of trust on some doctors that operate like that. But despite that, we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our families, we owe it to our loved ones to do our research in getting the right doctor who has our best interest at hand. The same way we would do our due diligence in finding the right mechanic for our cars. We have to do our due diligence in finding the right doctor who has our health, our best interest. And so sometimes a doctor that you that has family history with you, and with your mother or your father, could be a good starting point. The doctor could also be someone that maybe your spouse goes to, could be a good starting point. It could be a close friend that that goes to a doctor, and maybe having a conversation with their doctor is a good starting point. That way, that will help me and you not to have to use the excuse of a lack of trust and not going to a doctor. And when you finally find a regular doctor, understanding that there is a difference between a copay and a payment in an emergency room. There's a difference between a copay and a payment in the emergency room. And what I mean by that is, if you are constantly always going to the emergency room because the pain is just too much for you to go, but you never go to a regular doctor or primary physician, you're going to always end up paying somewhere between $150 to $200 for that emergency visit, based on how many times that you end up going. But if you have health coverage and you've taken the time to understand what your copay is and what your health insurance coverage is, your in-network and out-of-network would cost you, you're looking to spend somewhere between $25 to $30. And so that will help you from a standpoint of not buying into the lie that doctors are always only focused on just making money off of you and not never getting you better. Another important tip to understand is, when you start going to the doctor, there, you explain what the health concern is. And so I remember when I started going back to the doctor, and I think it was shortly after my sister had passed away in 2015. And I was sharing with him that I was just coming for a regular checkup, but because my sister had passed away, I'm 40, I had to be about 47 at that time, or going on 47. So I had to be 46 at the time. She passing away at 42. I told him I was concerned. I was concerned because of her passing away and my mom's passing away at 42 as well. And so there was a series of tests that I end up having to take just to check the condition of my heart. Tests like echo tests, tests that check my artery, making sure there's proper blood flow, the stress test, types of tests that I would take so that he could kind of get an understanding of the condition of my heart and why it beat it the way it beat and if it fluttered, why was there a flutter? And so going and getting a regular primary doctor who can check you on a regular basis, and as you go each checkup, there's a baseline of history that that doctor can look at and say, okay, when we ran these tests, your heart and everything was in good condition. 3 years from now, we run those tests. As you've been coming regularly, they've been good. Oh, the fourth year you go, oh, there's a change here. Why? There's a baseline record there of history that they can go by. And then if by the chance, if you do get admitted into a hospital because of an unseen illness that happens, you don't have to now end up spending the first day being in an emergency room or a hospital room where you now got to take those same series of tests that the hospital is going to bill you for, bill your health insurance for, and now you spend the next 6 to 8 hours going through a bunch of tests that had you took before, it wouldn't have took all of that. Because with the technology that a lot of doctors have, they can put that data and that information and medical history record on their computers. And then if the hospital needs to get in contact with the doctor can then share that information. And a lot of those tests may not necessarily be necessary. It helps now that doctor at that emergency room or that doctor at that hospital to be more better equipped to understanding of what's going on in your life. What caused this sudden concern? Remember, I go back to the gurney, the gurney, where the man is going about his daily activities and routines, and he doesn't see that gurney following him. And what it's saying is he can be one step away from a major heart attack, a serious heart attack where, just his whole system just crashes. His artery, one of his arteries could be blocked up and he can end up having a serious heart attack, and he could be healthy as a horse. And he's saying, I'm fine. What do you mean? I'm this step to close to having a heart attack. So you have to go and have regular visits, taking the necessary tests that need to be taken, making sure you have a sample of your urine taken to test your urine, to test your prostate levels, to do blood tests, to check your blood in terms of making sure that there's nothing going wrong with your blood. There are different types of tests that you have to take that's going to help you to deal with pre-existing health concerns and family history that you maybe end up dealing with and you didn't know it was there. And then we talked about regular visits. Let's talk about the health risk. If you continue to take the position that I'm just not going to go to a doctor, I'm just going to continue to, I know my blood pressure is high. My blood pressure is over 200 20 over say 120, and yet you still saying, "Hey, I'm good. I'm good." Here's the danger in that. You go from being pre-diabetic to now being diabetic, where now you got to start taking insulin. You're having issues with your kidney to now you could possibly end up having to be on dialysis. You see these health risks can end up ballooning into something much greater. Your blood pressure is constantly sky high, where now you're susceptible to the risk of strokes, susceptible to the risk of heart attacks as a man. Now, if you are a regular listener on Man Talk Live and you say, I go to the doctor, I'm doing all these things, Walter, then I know I am, as they say, preaching to the choir. But you know someone that's not. You know someone that's not going to the doctor the way they should. You know someone that is struggling with some serious health concerns, and yet they continue to not going. I want to encourage you, don't stop encouraging them. Let them be made aware of the health risk. The health risks that ultimately, if they're not addressed, you could end up, as a result, having an early funeral. One of the things that really got me in the place where I needed to start taking my health concern, I would probably date it back to 2015. I was kind of dealing with some things in my life, and I was kind of dealing with some discouragement, and I really wasn't kind of happy with the direction that my life was at from a career standpoint. I felt like I was struggling as a husband, I was struggling as a father, and I wanted to do better. I needed to do better. And I heard someone make the suggestion one day that sometimes maybe you just need to sit down and write out your own obituary. Write out your own obituary. And I thought that was kind of strange. I thought that was kind of morbid. But the more I thought about it, I said, you know what? Let me try it. And I began to sit down and to write out the things that I felt that I had accomplished, from an education standpoint, to going to school, and what I had accomplished in terms of, having a family, being married, having a child as a father, what I had accomplished and how God had blessed me being in church and what type of career I had. And it gave me the opportunity to say, okay, this is what the obituary kind of look and sound like. And then to ask myself the question after I had did that, what was missing from that obituary? And what would I desire to see added to the obituary, if it was being read in front of family, friends, and loved ones on the day I passed away? And so it challenged me to really want to take my health more serious, and to get my life in a better place, and my mental health, my mental space in a better place. What I didn't realize though was, as I was putting that obituary together, the framework in terms of how I put it together, I didn't realize that a matter of weeks after doing it, that it would be used as a framework to put my sister's funeral together. And that really kind of hit me. That hit me. It was just a matter of just replacing my name with hers, replacing her education information with mine, her family accomplishments as a mother, as a wife, in place of mine, and was able to put her obituary together. Because sometimes when a person passes away, the passing of that person can be so devastating. It can be hard at first to sit down at the instructions of the funeral director to have to put that together. And so it put me in a place to really say, I gotta really take life more serious. Things that I want to change are only going to change because I have to be willing to change. I have to take my health more serious. Again, she passing at 42, mom's passing at 42, granddad passing at 42. And here I'm 46 at the time. So that was 2015. And so there are health risks as men we need to address and deal with. We have to address and deal with. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this episode of Man Talk Live, do me a favor, click that thumbs up button for me. Share this on your favorite social media platform. If you are new to Man Talk Live and you want to raise the standard of manhood in your life by being a great husband, a devoted father, and a man of integrity, a man who serves God in your community, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button for me, click the alert notification button, and join the conversation of real men. Here are real men rising that want to raise the standard of manhood in their life and the generations to come. Which brings me to my final reason or point here on Man Talk. Not only do we have to take our mental health serious, not only do we have to take our physical health serious, we have to take our mental health serious. Not only do we have to take our physical health serious, but we have to take our mental health. Our mental health. More and more today, we are hearing about the importance of why we need to take the time, invest the time in getting our mental health right. There are commercials that talk about, mental health assistance, whether in person or mental health assistance online. There are apps on our phones that we can download that can help us with mental health so that we can be in the right space mentally so that our health can be better and our life can be better. Some doctors, particularly with minds, what the nursing assistant will ask or the doctor will ask, doing a regular checkup, they will ask, hey, how are you doing? How have you been feeling? Have you been dealing with any type of depression? Have you been dealing with being discouraged? Has there been anything that's been upsetting you, that's been affecting your mental health, your mental space, you protecting your peace? It's now become common practice for a primary physician or a nursing assistant at a doctor's office in urgent care to ask you about your mental health, because we see some of the concerns in our society where individuals who are dealing with some serious mental health concerns, and as a result, men are committing acts of violence through, through senseless school shootings. Mothers who have children because of damaged relationships with a male, abusive relationships with a male, gets behind the wheel of a car past the driving, the word I'm looking for, driving under the influence past the limit of how much you should be drinking, having her son and her daughter, and now driving down the wrong way and hitting a car head on and possibly killing that passenger, killing herself or her children, or being seriously hurting someone, and now having her children taken from her, and now she has to look at spending a lot of jail time. because of mental health concerns. And so the same way we need to take our physical health serious, men, we need to take our mental health serious. It's okay if we need or you need to sit down and to talk to someone about past childhood trauma that's affecting your today. It's okay to need to talk to someone. I understand it's a matter of trust. You don't want to put yourself in the light of feeling like you don't have it all together. You don't want to put yourself in the view or the perspective that you are weak, that you are a man who doesn't have it all together mentally. None of us as men don't want to feel like that. But the truth of the matter is, it's okay. It's okay to be in that space when you can sit down and with the right person who has your best interest at hand to see you better mentally. It's okay. They may have the answers to the questions that you so desperately need as a man. They may have the advice that you need to hear to help you to move past your past childhood trauma. Whether if that childhood trauma was abuse, sexual, physical, whether it's that childhood trauma is through bullying, or that childhood drama was being abandoned. The important thing is, as men, we need to take not only our physical health serious, we need to take our mental health serious. Now, I realize this is an episode from a YouTube standard. It doesn't encourage a lot of content creators. Hey, this is not going to get me a lot of views. This is not going to get me a lot of subscribers. This is not going to help me to grow my channel. This is not going to help me to become a full-time YouTuber and quit my job so I can have a full-time career as a YouTuber. It's not designed for that, but it is designed to speak to that part of you that's burning out from trying to chase after all those vanity metrics. It's designed to speak to that part of you that is dealing with burnout because you are on the hamster wheel of content creation, putting video after video, doing daily content because you want the next views. You want to grow with more subscribers. You want to grow your channel, but yet you are burnt out. Your mental health is not in a good place. You spend more time trying to get views than you spend time speaking to your wife. You spend more time trying to get more subscribers and growing your channel than you would speak to your son or your daughter. And you're not in a good place mentally as a man. You're not in a good place. You think I'm off? You think I'm wrong about this? Some of the biggest YouTubers go put their names in the search bar and put burnout, put isolation. You will find videos by them talking about this very same issue. You will find some of the top performing YouTubers talking about quitting YouTube because YouTube is too hard and it is affecting their mental health and they want to go back to having a 9 to 5. You can find videos by Sean Cannell. You can find videos by Roberto Blake. And you can find videos by Nick Nimmin and others. What about you? As a man, where are you at with your mental health? Where are you at with your physical health? In the church, they would say that's a Selah moment. Pause and calmly think of that. That's the content this morning here on Man Talk Live. Hey, if you've gotten great value out of this episode, do me a favor, click that like button, share this on your favorite social media platform. If you've been watching the replay of this episode up to this point, I thank you so much for hanging in with me and watching this episode on us as men taking our health serious. Well, that's it for this episode. If you want to go deeper on this discussion on addressing your childhood trauma, I have a video that I will put in the description after we completed this video for you to check out addressing the childhood trauma issues in your life as a man, and you'll find some more content on burnout, how to overcome burnout in your life. So this train now is in the station. I want to thank each and every one of you who have been watching me live, and those of you who have been watching me on the replay. And we are going to continue this conversation, not only to help you to walk in real manhood as a man, but to take care of your health, physical and mental. See you in the next episode of Man Talk Live.